we would like to start off with your opinion. After 1 year since the war, what do you think are the lessons that Ukraine has learned so far?
The main lesson that we learn is that good will prevail over evil. During this year, I remember when the invasion started back February last year, skeptics would give Ukraine a few days, but optimists would say, Ukraine will last for a week. So fortunately, year on, we're sitting here in Kiev, which stays strong and stay free. But of course, we have been paying a huge price for this. But during this year, I think Ukraine proved that stamina, supported by weapons, can achieve significant results and can ensure victory over aggressor.
And President Zelensky has repeated many times that victory will come this year. Do you still believe it will come in 2023?
I think there is no nation in the world who wants, peace more than Ukraine. And of course, we want this peace and victory as soon as possible. But we also understand that Russia is not interested in peace. It is interested in war, and it has been taking efforts to continue and escalate this war. So of course, President Zelensky, as a president of a nation who is fighting for its existence, wants this peace as soon as possible. And of course, we want this peace this year. But as I said, this fighting is going on.
And do you still believe there is a diplomatic exit to this conflict, or could it have been avoided?
Every war ends with a diplomatic solution. But diplomatic solution is possible when Russia is interested in peace. So far, we don't see any willingness from their side to engage in peace, in real peace. What they do is a smokescreen when they make statements about negotiations, but in the reality, they continue hostilities. So they talk about negotiations in the evening, but in the morning make sure they will launch new missile attacks on Ukrainian cities. Yesterday we saw Putin's address in Moscow, where he clearly said that he is willing to continue a war. He's preparing his public for long-term war. And of course, under such conditions, diplomatic solution with Russia seems impossible. However, President Zelensky came out with his peace formula, a peace plan that contains 10 points. And we believe that this plan is the way for just and lasting peace in Ukraine. And of course, we have been talking with partners and countries in the world, and in particular in Latin America, about the support of this plan.
Speaking of Latin America, in a week filled with so many symbolic gestures of support for Ukraine all over the world, I can't help but think of the words that Minister Kuleba spoke about Latin America, how Ukraine has overlooked the region for many years. What do you think about this and how to correct this?
Yes, indeed. Ukraine's foreign policy was centered around Euro-Atlantic integration, I would say. Some parts of the world has been paid more attention to. And of course, as this invasion started, we felt that Ukraine needs more support, not only from Europe and its allies across Atlantic, North America, but we also need support from Latin America, from Africa, Asia. Basically, we need support in condemning Russia's aggression, but also other practical ways that countries willing to provide Ukraine with. To win this war, Ukraine needs 4 components: weapons, sanctions, money, and solidarity. We are not to dictate to any country what kind of support they should provide to Ukraine, but it's up to these countries. But we would welcome more engagement from Latin America, because Ukraine is fighting not only for itself, it fights for freedom, for basic values enshrined in the UN Charter, which is sovereignty of nations, territorial integrity of nations, and we are fighting against the right of stronger to attack the weaker. So I think Latin America should also be concerned what is happening with Ukraine and should demonstrate its solidarity.
And in that case, how do you feel about Mexico's government position? Do you think it has shown solidarity? And what would you ask of the government of Mexico?
We would like to see more solidarity and support from the government of Mexico. We have good cooperation within the United Nations. Mexico supported almost all Ukrainian initiatives. However, given that Mexico is one of the leaders in the region, we think Mexico could play a more active role. This implies not only to support within the United Nations, and by the way, this week there will be a resolution addressing peace in Ukraine, and we would welcome Mexico's support of this resolution. But also we are seeking support on a bilateral level. And as I said, there are areas where Mexico can help, and we would welcome that.
And lastly, we know that you've recently announced a new cooperation between NATO countries and the European Union and Ukraine in order to resolve the problem that has become more and more evident, which is the supply of ammunition and other types of weaponry. How did you achieve this, and do you think this will be a turning point in the conflict?
As we see the war goes on, we need to ensure that Ukrainian army has enough weapons and ammunition to resist Russia, but also to liberate more territories. So over this year, Ukraine has liberated more than 50% of newly occupied territories. So our army, our defenders proved that their stamina and weapons can deliver. But as the fighting goes on, stockpiles of ammunition, they exhaust. So the goal of Foreign Minister Kuleba meeting in Brussels with High Representative Borrell and NATO Secretary General was to establish a coordination mechanism where all countries involved and Ukraine can coordinate the production of ammunition that we need. So this is sustainable, and our army has what it needs.
Thank you very much. I don't know if there's anything else you would like to add.
No, I just would like maybe to address your audiences, that to ask them to care about people of Ukraine, because they are defending not only themselves, but also they defend the democratic world. The world where one country cannot undermine sovereignty and international recognized borders with force. Because if Russia is allowed to succeed in Ukraine, so Russia itself or any other countries who have similar aggressive policies can think that they can repeat this in other parts of the world. So I think that it's our own best interest not to allow this.